Johnny's giving Kitty her morning rub down.
Deluxe.
Yep.
All the cats love under the chin. I don't know why, but they just love it.
All right, buddies, time to go.
It'll be a blast.
Yeah, but not an Arctic blast.
Oh, that's what it is.
Hi ho, hi ho, hi ho. It's off to school we go. Good morning, Ruby. It's a school day, yay! It's 6:34 and we are making good time getting out of here this morning. Everyone was up like it wasn't early or anything. Just wait till a few days of getting up early kicks in. Today's picture is a Eurasian eagle owl that I took at the Sylvan Heights Waterfowl Park. Beautiful, beautiful owl. Awesome eyes. All right, you guys have a good day.
You too.
Love ya.
See you later.
Yep.
Bye. I'll see you later.
Yeah, bye, bud. I'm home after sitting in downtown Raleigh in the church parking lot, taking a couple of time lapses, trying to do some light trails today, and a few pictures as well. Don was busy while I was gone. He got the Christmas tree put away for me. Sad to see it go, but you know, it's time. I'm going to work on packing up the nutcrackers. Wow, it's just about time to go get the boys, and I haven't sat down the entire time I've been home. But I got a lot of good progress to show for it. I've got a good start, and it is just a start to the Valentine's Day table. I got the whole house vacuumed, and I got the nutcrackers put away. Yep, it's good progress. Of course, there's always more to be done. It's a glorious 44 degrees out here. Yes, it is. And it's only supposed to go down to 33 tonight. We're not even going to go below freezing. Yes! I'm so excited. I'm so glad this cold snap is over. A very popular thing to do today, apparently. Get your car washed. So how was your day, Johnny?
It was pretty good. It was especially good because I had Mr. Ward twice.
Yeah, what do you have Mr. Ward for?
Marine biology and science.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It is.
Yeah. What are you doing in marine biology so far?
Right now we're looking at earth geology, so that sort of thing. Hopefully it'll move to more animals soon.
Do you have math on today on the A schedule too? No, math on B schedule?
Correct.
So what else did you have today?
Social studies and Spanish. Both were also good.
Cool, good to hear. So Joey, how was your day?
Okay.
Yeah, what did you do today?
Finally got to math class on Wednesday.
So with Mr. Gordon.
Yep.
Yeah, the different teacher than you had last semester.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you starting the unit on? What are you studying?
I don't know yet.
You don't know yet. Well, what'd you do today?
Actually, Spanish, we did an assignment, freshman seminar, we did this thing about how to be kind to others.
But what'd you do in math?
We did the introduction stuff.
Okay, since it was your first time with the teacher.
Yeah.
You didn't dig into the good old math problems yet, huh?
And in history, we actually did something interesting, learning about the Roman beheaded people that were dug up in York, New England, or something like that. It was pretty interesting.
Okay, cool, I think. It's time for a book shuffle. Drop them off, pick them up.
Not this type of shuffle, though.
This is what Mr. Don is reading this time. Thanks, Johnny. Good job, bud.
I got everything that needs to come out the back of the car.
Put Mr. Don's library book on his placemat.
Got ya.
When we have Taekwondo at 5 o'clock on Monday nights, it seems like we just get in the door from school and we've got to leave to go to class. But then we get to come home and relax for the rest of the evening, so it works out. Hey, Joey's still not with us to class. I guess he's not going to make his next testing. His back's really not any better. He's been trying to do the exercises from the PT, and we go back to the PT tomorrow, so I don't know when he'll be back in Taekwondo class. Kind of frustrating on multiple levels, but it is what it is. Well, we broke 15,000 miles today. Woohoo! 94 total miles.
Hi, Mary and I promised that we'd give you an update on some of our energy usage in our home, especially comparing the last week, which has been unusually cold. We had some single-digit temperatures. We had snow here in North Carolina. We also broke a record of over 200 hours at or below freezing, which is very unusually. Normally, we will easily get in the 20s at night, but often get in the 30s and 40s every day. So it staying at freezing or below for 200 continuous hours is a very unusual thing. So what I've got here, the chart on the left is the car, energy used to charge the car as a fraction of the overall energy for the home. So basically, the total energy from the home is shown, and then it's broken down into the energy that went to charge the car, and then the energy that we use to heat our home, cook, heat water, and things like that. So if you look on the Monday, the very first Monday, you'll notice that we were approaching 75 kilowatt hours used on that day. Probably 55 kilowatts of hours of that energy was used to charge the car, and approximately 20 kilowatt hours was used to heat and cook in the house. Mary Ann drove just over 90 miles that day. You can tell that from the black line. The next day, Tuesday, of that week was a normal school week. She drove the boys, made 2 trips from our home into downtown Raleigh to take the boys to school and then go back and pick them up. And you can see again that the kilowatt energy used, about 100 kilowatt hours per day is our average energy use, and approximately half of that energy went to charge the car, where the other half of the energy used went to heat for the rest of the electricity in our home. You can see that on Wednesday that she had an unusually high day. She did something over 120 miles that day, and you can notice that it took quite a bit to charge the car, something over 50 kilowatt hours. And then, of course, on Sunday, if you notice, the energy usage was somewhat down a little bit lower. However, we didn't drive very far that day. She only drove about roughly 20 miles. And you can see it only took probably less than 20 kilowatts to charge the car. Now, compare that to the energy use that we used last week, January 1st through January 7th, 2018. First of all, you need to notice the scale. Whereas before the top number was 125 kilowatt hours, here the top number is 200. And we actually had a day in which we used more than almost 160 kilowatt hours in one single day. That was last Tuesday. And you'll notice that Monday, which was the actual holiday, it hadn't snowed yet. So Marianne, we went around and she drove the car approximately 75 miles that day. And she charged it probably approximately 50 kilowatts. Tuesday, she didn't drive quite as far. She only drove about 45 miles. The boys were out of school on the Tuesday, Monday being the New Year's Day. Tuesday, they were also out of school. Wednesday was actually the closest to a normal day last week that matches a typical school week. She drove the boys, made 2 trips into Raleigh. Again, she drove right at 100 miles that day. And it took not quite 50 kilowatt hours, about 40 kilowatt hours or so to charge the car back up. And basically, we're using the typical heating ratio. Now, the cold weather rolled in, the snow rolled in Wednesday night into Thursday. When we woke up Thursday morning, we had 2 inches of snow on the ground. And the schools were closed, and it was the roads were too bad to drive on. So she actually drove Ruby 0 miles on Thursday. And you could tell that the very little charging was done, because that's only the vampire type losses that needed to be replaced. And again, but noticed, even though we charged very little, we still used over 115 kilowatt hours in a single day. That's because it was so cold and our electric heating system was running. And basically that story is the same through the week. She did get out a little bit and drive on Friday and a little bit more on Saturday. But we pretty much stayed home on Sunday. So again, very little charging, but yet again, well over 100 kilowatt hours of energy used that day to heat the home. So I've got a chart that shows you what it looks like. I have hour meters, run time, that measures the run time in hours on our heating system. It has 3 stages. The first stage is low speed compressor, pulls about 1.6 kilowatt hours. And then stage 2 is the compressor runs on high speed, and that pulls about 2.5 kilowatt hours. And then the third stage is the resistive heat strips kick in. So between the heat strips and the stage 1 and 2, because all 3 stages are running when stage 3 comes on, our heat pump draws about 10 kilowatts of energy. So if you look at the entire month of December 2017, you take all the hours in the month. There's like 738 hours in the month. 52% of those hours, the heating system was off. In other words, it was not running. It wasn't necessary to heat our house. The house was warm enough. And then 34%, almost 35% of the time, Stage 1 ran and was enough to maintain the heat in our home. On some of the colder nights, stage 2 had to kick on for approximately additional 12% of the energy was used. But if you notice, stage 3 on this for the entire month ran less than 1% of the time. So the heat strips ran very little in the month of December. But now compare that to the chart on the right, which is the first week of 2018. And right off the bat, you'll notice this is for 168 hours. 6.6% of the time the heat system was off. Compare that to 52% for a more typical heating cycle or heating day. Stage 1 was enough to heat the house only 8.8% of the time. So basically, the heating system pretty much ran all the time, and when it ran, it was having to run with stage 2 heat. So 73% of the time, it was running on high speed, and that was enough to maintain the temperature in the house. However, 11.6% of the time, it had to turn on the resistive heat strips to keep the house warm. So as you can tell, that was a significant increase. And again, we did not try to control when the heat strips come on. So they would come on during peak time. So we're expecting our energy bill to go up this month because of the high demand. So we didn't drive the Tesla very much, but we still used a lot of electricity to heat our home because of the cold weather.
It's 8:33 and we're out of here on time this morning. Yes, we are. Oh, okay. Let's do it again.
We need a blooper reel.
Yeah, something like that. Okay. It's
I'll do it. I'll do it.
It's now 6:33 and we're pulling out to go to school. Here's